soon going to get the best of them, and they're going to see where they're going to have to use, they're going to have to definitely use more powerful weapons in order to gain the advantage. And as soon as one starts, the other follows, and this is it. Everything goes. In other words, the nuclear war weapons will slip in without them even knowing what's taking place. All of a sudden, one will decide to use it, knowing what's taking place. All of a sudden, one will decide to use it, the other will respond, and everything flies. And everything goes very rapidly. The Lord's people know these things. Now, if Yahshua were truly coming on earth, like the religionists claim, it would be kind of foolish to reject someone's claim that Christ is here or there. There's a very, very good chance, very good possibility that possibly he did see Christ, or he knows where he is. Because if he does come on earth, why, I don't believe everybody could see him at once unless he was on television. Everybody could see him at once unless he was on television, possibly. But he's telling you very plain that believe it not. Now, he's emphatic in this, and the reason he's emphatic because he will not come back on earth. He will not be seen. Now there'll be many false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that it were possible they shall deceive the very elect. Now these are the religionists of this world. Naturally they will go on lying, they will build the abomination, they will do all kinds of things to possibly try to deceive the very elect. And you're going to hear a lot of lies during this time. I imagine you've already heard a lot of lies about me. As this thing increases, you're going to hear more lies, not only about me, but about all of the Lord's people, and you're going to hear claims which are going to try to deceive everyone. How many times have you heard of people performing miracle cures, or seeing a face on a wall, or bathing in some lake and being... How many times have you heard of people performing miracle cures, or seeing a face on a wall, or bathing in some lake and being healed, or certain individuals that are able to make one leg that is shorter than the other grow into the right length? They continuously use all this propaganda to cause everyone to begin thinking that possibly Yahweh is with these people because miracles are being performed. And as this goes on, we'll see more and more of these deceivers employed by the devil trying to deceive, if were possible, the very elect. What answer can the Lord's people have when they say that a man had cancer or something like this, and the healer spreads forth his hands and shouts healed, and everything disappears? You can't argue that they did attend their churches. This does not mean that Yahweh will not take care of his people. But you're not going to have miracle cures, because this would be evidence. And if he says the wicked look for a sign, there'll be no sign given. We do know that Yahweh will take care of his people, and that people who are sick, those whose prayers are pure, those who have a pure devotion for Yahweh, he will not permit to them to be burdened with anything more than they can bear. So he will help people. But it's not going to be anything really miraculous, because this would be too much evidence. But just remember this: Yahweh is with you. You go through the proper channels, you try to do everything you can, you trust in Yahweh, you say your prayers, he will see you through. But he's not going to do a real miracle that would cause everybody's attention to turn toward you because of the miracle. He doesn't want people to come in through miracles. He wants them to come in through the understanding, because the acceptance of the truth proves the heart condition of the individual. And accepting a miracle doesn't prove anything, except that he knows that there's some mighty power behind it. He would accept anybody who would perform this power, whether it's the devil or anybody. Many people go to fortune tellers and witches and everything else as long as they gain their ends. So if Yahweh performed miracle cures, he would have this class of people join him just for the miracles, just for what they could gain from him, and they would have nothing to do with the truth. Do not fear that Yahweh is truly with your people, with his people, and you will actually have more healing, more blessings in Israel than you will have anywhere else. You will find that these cures that they perform are fake cures. Most of the people are not even sick. 80% of the people are not sick at all. And it's all a mental condition. Now, behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. All right, now here he emphasizes no matter where he is, do not go there. Why? Again, I must repeat that you do not go because he is not there. And he is not there because he's not coming back on earth. In other words, he doesn't come again, he makes his second presence. His influence is felt. He begins to deal with Israel on earth. And you'll recognize his dealings with Israel by the Holy Spirit that he pours upon his people and the understanding, the response he gets on earth. A people of knowledge, a people of strength, a people of faith, a people who go forward and do his will in the face of opposition. This is when he comes in power and great glory. Now in 2 Corinthians 5:16, we find that you'll not see Yahshua in the flesh anymore. He says, wherefore henceforth know we no man after the flesh. In other words, you don't judge a man by the flesh. Yea, though we have known Christ after the flesh, yet now henceforth know we him no more. So you will not know him after the flesh. The ones who will know him and see him are those who go with him. For where I am ye shall be also, he speaks to the heavenly class. Now, the signs of his second presence are these. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Lightning represents illumination. Illumination means the ability to see, light being shed. This is a symbol of understanding. In other words, the scriptures begin to become clear. For the first time, the scriptures begin to be understood. And we find that this was the case with his second presence, especially with the heavenly class. They began to understand that his presence would not be visible, and that the end of the Gentile times was about to take place, and they knew that the kingdom, the king would be in the heavens, and the 144,000 would be associated with him, and the plan of the Almighty God began to be revealed. Alright. Now he says, for wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Now the only evidence you'll see is eagles or vultures feeding on a carcass. Now what does this symbolize? What it does symbolize is that the eagles or vultures are the Lord's people. The carcass is the spiritual food. The only evidence you'll see of his second presence is that there will be eager students of the scriptures busily engaged or engaged in devouring the precious spiritual food, much like hungry eagles would be devouring a carcass, or vultures would be devouring a carcass. So all you'll see is that there will be people feeding on the revealed truths. you'll see groups here and groups there studying the Bible, feeding on what has the latest revelations, eagerly feeding upon it. This is the only indication that you'll have of a second presence. And the revelations that do take place are because he has made a second presence. And he does begin to influence the earth. He does begin to influence his people on the earth. Now he says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Now this was never understood until Yahweh blessed his servants. We wonder what tribulation he's speaking of here. Now, the sun being darkened and the moon not giving her light and so forth, the stars falling up from heaven, these are all heavenly bodies of light. This means that all these heavenly bodies of light would no longer shine. This is a symbol of Yahweh's Holy Spirit being cut off. In other words, there would be no longer any light from the heavens, and he would no longer continue directing those whom he had been directing beforehand. Now, those who are affected by the light being cut off, naturally, are those who are in the light. Now, what tribulation, at the end of what tribulation does this take place? Well, after Armageddon, after that great tribulation, the sun will never go out. The light, he says, the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. So this mustn't necessarily mean another tribulation. The tribulation that he's referring to here is the end of this particular trouble that started with the First World War. It started with the devil being thrown out of heaven. We had one particular tribulation which continued, or which was, you might say, reborn at the time of the Second World War. There was the First World War, where Germany endeavored to overthrow the monopolistic controls of the Seventh World Power. And after Germany failed, there was a brief period of rest when she began to regroup and regather her strength. And then in 1939, we find the same thing, the same fire started to burn again. Germany tried again to overthrow the Seventh World Power. Now, this is the tribulation that he's referring to here, the tribulation that started with the First World War and ended with the Second World War. This particular tribulation will not have a recurrence. Germany will never come up again, and the United States will not have to fight Germany. But what you will have after this is the end of the Seventh World Power and the beginning of the two-horned beast, the abomination of desolation, which is Russia and the United States. These will be the two that will join together and will ultimately annihilate one another. So this means that the light goes out after the Second World War. The Second World War ended in 1945. The light going out means that it affected those who were in the light, and the only ones who were in the light were the children of the kingdom, Jehovah's Witnesses, the first witness. Now, why does Yahweh permit the light to go out? Well, because he's no longer going to deal with them. The heavenly class has been selected. They have done their work. They have began to instruct the prophets. They have given the key to the prophets. And then the prophets are called out, and they are separated and instructed privately. And he allows the light to go out, not only because he is instructing the prophets, but this is a period of test for the children of the kingdom, in order that they may prove themselves. He says he will once again shake both heaven and earth, that all which may not be shaken may remain. Now, the heavenly class was shaken up during the time of the First World War, when they saw that the things that they had thought was going to happen did not happen exactly as they had imagined, and many were shaken out. But the faithful ones remained. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be shaken up when they realize that they are not the ones that Yahweh has continued to deal with, that he has substituted the prophets who have been promised a better resurrection, and that he's dealing with the prophets, and that they have to make an about-face and follow these prophets. Now, this is going to be quite an insult to them, because they really think they are the princes. They really think that they're the ones who have been blessed by Yahweh and that they have the truth. They are the children of the kingdom, and Yahweh brings out that when the prophets do come back, the children of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Now, the children of the kingdom are those who have been nourished by the kings themselves. Jehovah's Witnesses have been taught by the remnant of the body of Yahshua, the remnant of the kings and priests. And these will be offended when they see that members have come up outside of their organization and have been accepted by Yahweh and have even more knowledge than they do, and they will wonder how this group suddenly comes up out of nowhere inside of 1 or 2 or 3 years and knows far more than those who have studied for 20 or 30 years. And they receive the same reward. This will cause them to envy these new members, and those whose heart is not right will fall out. Now, judgment begins at the house of God, so he cleanses his organization first. And then his judgment falls on those who claim to be his, which is religion. In this world, the religion goes down first, but the Lord's people must meet with his judgment first. He says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in clouds of heaven with power and great glory. All right, after the light goes out, then they will see signs of the Son of Man coming. Now, how will they see the signs of him coming in power and great glory? Yahweh says, in Israel will I be glorified. He says, Israel is my battle axe and weapons of war. In other words, Yahweh's name is on earth is vindicated by Israel. And the power and great glory that will demonstrate to the world that Yahshua has made his second presence will be understood in the knowledge and the faith and the strength of Yahweh's people on earth. They will realize that they have an invisible leader who is guiding them through his Holy Spirit, and all of the minds of Israel will be receiving this knowledge, this understanding from above through his Holy Spirit, and they will conduct themselves as one man doing the will of Yahweh without opposition, fearless, full of knowledge, full of strength, as a well-trained army that does not bump into one another, that are really very, very efficient. When they see this, they'll know that he has made a second presence, that something is backing them, and great fear will fall on them. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together the elect from the 4 winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right, now, this means that when they the same time when they begin to recognize this, they recognize this when the work takes place. When the work takes place, naturally the people are being gathered. This is part of the publicity. The publicity is what's going to shake up this world. The publicity is what's going to gather the Lord's people. So wherever the message is heard, and it will be heard worldwide, his people will be gathered. His people will come out of the world. Now he says, now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Now the things that you naturally that you must see, you must understand in order for you to see them. So in other words, you must have an accurate knowledge of the prophecies, otherwise it is meaningless to you. Like Jehovah's Witnesses, they say the 2-horned beast is England and the United States. Well, England and the United States is not a king of iron and a king of clay. They're 2 democratic powers, and furthermore, it does not encompass the whole world, but we do find that the world is split in two factions, communism and democracy. So with the witnesses, they don't have any understanding of the prophecies, so they really don't know what to expect. We know that we have to have the 1260 days publicity. This they think they fulfilled during the time of the First World War. They have no idea that there's still this great publicity to take place. So they really don't know where they are. But those who have an understanding, they know the fulfillment of these things, and like a person recognizing spring by the evidence in the buds of the plants, we recognize the end is near by what we see. We understand the prophecies, and we see now that we are entering into a period of publicity. We know that 1260 days is about to start. So the Lord's people are right in there, knowing what step is going to take place next. Now he says, "Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." And Yahshua was referring to the generation of his second presence, till everything would be finished. So you could count, it would be less than 70 years after 1917 and a half. He says, "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away." All right, now the heavens and earth that he's referring to here is the invisible ruling organization of the devil and the visible ruling organization. They will pass away, but his words will not pass away. Now, as far as the literal earth is concerned, the earth abideth forever. So it's not the literal earth that he's referring to. He's referring to that which is invisible and that which is visible of the wicked organizations of the devil. "But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only." All right, now he made it very emphatic that the day and the hour no one knew. In fact, there's evidence that really no one knew even anywhere near the year, because even the apostles were speaking of the last days at that time. So that portion had not as yet been revealed, and even though there were many mysteries revealed, there was fabulous understanding given to the apostles. The period of time seemed to be baffling to all, because Yahweh did not choose to reveal it at that time. I guess it would be a little disheartening to know that you had to wait a couple thousand years yet. So, but actually, when a person dies, he doesn't wait a couple thousand years. It's just like a night's sleep, and there's no sense of time in death. So it's like going to sleep at night and waking up in the morning. But if you were told you had to wait a couple thousand years, I guess it would not be very pleasant. So he did not reveal it. But now we do know the count of time. We still don't know the day and the hour, but we certainly don't have to know the day and the hour. We'd be very happy to know the year, as we are finding out very, very closely to just about when we can expect these things. "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." Now the coming of the Son of Man is not only his coming or his presence, but the results of his presence. In other words, what takes place after his presence. The destruction of the world did not take place as soon as he made his second presence, but when he made his second presence, things began to happen. And those who do not recognize his second presence do not recognize that the judgment has begun, and they are actually not prepared for anything that's going to transpire. So the religious who are waiting for him to come down from heaven and take him into the heavens are waiting in vain. All the time Yahweh's judgment is marching on, and it's going to encompass them, and they will go down in total darkness. So being like the days of Noah means that in Noah's time they didn't listen to anyone. They didn't listen to Noah. They weren't prepared for anything. They did not anticipate anything. They lived their own selfish lives, and they were swept away without knowing even what took place, what was happening. Probably was just a storm to them, even though they had been told everything that would take place. The members of this world, they will just say, well, it's just another war, even though they will have been told that this is the end of the world, and the Lord's people would have prophesied just how it's coming to pass. If it's another war, it's one thing, but if it's Yahweh's judgment and the end of the world, it's another thing. Okay? And those who go down at this time will be going down really in the face opposing light. They will be guilty of having neglected to listen to Yahweh's message. For as in the days that were before the flood, that they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So this doesn't mean that as soon as he comes, it takes everybody away. We know that when he comes, he has to come like lightning. In other words, there would be enlightenment, there would be understanding, there would be a preaching work. But that which followed his second presence would have to take place, but being taken away without realizing what was happening means that these people not only did not know that he came, they did not know the work, they didn't listen to anything, and they continued living their own selfish lives, ignoring Yahweh and his people. Now he says, then shall two be in a field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Now religion is springing out that this means that one is going to be taken to heaven and the other is not. In other words, they're going to all of a sudden rise up and go to heaven, and the other one is going to stay there. Now, Yahweh purposely speaks this way because those who want to believe these things, who choose to ignore the truth and oppose the truth, to fight the reasonable understanding that Yahweh is trying to present to his people, let them believe it. He lets them believe a lie if they want to believe a lie. The Lord's people are not satisfied with these interpretations, and they search, and Yahweh's Spirit blesses them with a true understanding. One being taken and the other left means that there are two people, two women, whom you will not be able to see any real difference in, but one will have the right heart condition and one will have the wrong heart condition. One will be accepted and the other will be rejected. And you've seen that many, many times. You people have had friends, and you got along famously until the truth came along, and you find that one is in and the other is out. And for the first time in your life, you began to see what your friend was really like. You began to see that they did not have the heart condition that you thought they did. You never thought there was anything wrong with them. But with the truth, you begin to find that there is something wrong. All right? Two women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken and the other left. The same thing here. Two women working together. They're friends. You are able to distinguish no difference between the two. But Yahweh accepts one and he rejects the other. Why? Well, the only thing that makes the true separation is the truth. People can have a lot of fun. Drinking, dancing, playing cards, doing anything. Cooking, eating. They'll be like one person. Bring the truth in, all of a sudden there's a separation. One is in, the other is out. So it's not the pleasures of this world or the pleasures that they can enjoy together. It's one who loves righteousness and one who hates righteousness, who loves injustice. Watch therefore, for ye know what hour your Lord doth come. Now he makes it look like everything is going to happen as soon as he comes. Such is not the case. The results of his second coming is what brings about these things. So watch and recognize that he has made his second coming, and you know that you are in a day of judgment, and watch yourself from here on in. Because your conduct from now on is being taped, you might say. The truth is here. How are you responding? If you reject it now, you're in bad shape, because this is the time of enlightenment. If you had rejected it before, okay, there really was not that much truth. There was only the heavenly class being gathered. But reject it now when it is a time for your reward, and you let your reward, your soul, your reward up the river. Be careful. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. All right? Now, if the person had been watching, he wouldn't allow himself to be robbed. If you watch and you recognize the second presence, you will not allow yourself to be deprived of his blessings. You will know that his period of judgment is here, the time of blessing is here, and you will take advantage of it. You will appreciate it. All of Israel will appreciate this. This will be the most precious pearl that they could purchase. Israel will sell everything that they have to buy this one pearl, this blessing of Yahweh, which is beyond price. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. All right. Now, those who do not have the understanding, not only will they not know when he comes, but they will not know the time of his particular judgment upon the individual. So those who watch will not only recognize his coming, they will recognize that they are being judged, and they will make sure that they will not fall into the snare of the devil by rejecting the truth. Now he goes on and says, who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Now there is a faithful and wise servant that the Lord has made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season, meaning that he will give them the spiritual food as it is revealed. Now this servant has been made a ruler. All right, now he puts it in the singular, but it is actually made up of a class, a group, and the ones who are to be rulers over the kingdom are the heavenly class. And this is pertaining to the last days, so it could not be the apostles or those who have died. There will be the remnant or the feet of him who are alive in the last days, whom he selects to finish the work that the apostles started. And this work is finished in the last days, and these are active after his second presence, and they are given authority over his household. And they give the meat in due season, and they give the understanding as it is revealed. Now he says, blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing, indicating that this particular class was busily at work before he made his second presence. And we find that Russell and the Bible students began to work around 1873, 1874, and they were busily engaged doing his work before he made his second presence.